My name is Brian Udy. I work for Central Iowa Machine, and we're down here welding on this sculpture, and it's been interesting. It's been fun, and some of the difficulties is with the stainless steel. It gets, when you're welding on it, it gets real warpage, and the heat transfers it a lot. And we was having problems with it diving down and getting it filled back up, but we went pretty smooth.
Well, I've been working for probably sculpture about 40 years. I started, ever since I was in high school, I wanted to do art. It was, I'd sneak to the art room, when I was supposed to be in study hall. So, so I just decided from the very beginning that I was going to do art, even though my parents tried to discourage me and do something constructive in life. And so I just, the funny thing was that I started welding metal. I became very fascinated with welding metal. And I would take sheets of steel or aluminum, and I would carve on them with a torch or weld onto the surface. And they were always flat on the wall, and they got so heavy that I really was a challenge hanging it up on a wall. I had to put really big, heavy screws right into the wood behind it. And so anyway, one of my friends came over one time and we were sitting there looking at it, and I said, boy, they're so heavy now, I really don't know what to do with them. He said, why don't you just build up from them? Which was just, oh, great, just start building on that plate of steel. And so that's how I started doing freestanding dimensional work. I know you could do it on a wall, but you can't keep adding to it or pull the wall down. So that's what I did. I started just working from the floor up and then making it into a dimensional sculpture. And so that was essentially the way I got started on sculpture. Part of the struggle was equipment. If you're going to do large-scale sculpture, you really just have to have the space, the hoists in your studio. I'm not saying you can't do it without it. You probably could do it with a couple of good ladders, but it would be terribly hard to do. Echo. And the way that came about, quite a few years ago, maybe 25 years ago, a woman from New York who worked on helping new buildings go up, and working on the interiors and stuff, and wanted me to build a piece outside in the front of this building. And so I made a drawing of this, and then they like that, and then I made a little model and they like that. So they were going to hire me, and then all of a sudden the company went bankrupt. So, this might have been somewhere in Chicago, just outside of Chicago, yeah. So I always wanted to make it, and I've kept the model of it, and the original model is actually in another corporation picked up the model and have it in their entrance to their building. But anyway, so that was a huge disappointment at that time, because I was really just beginning to do large work, and I was just really excited about that. But now I finally got it somewhere where I think it really works.
The revitalization plan called for something significant. Originally a water feature down in the plaza area down on 13th Street in the green space that's surrounded by the parking lot down there. That's sort of the central part of that district down there, and so the thought was to have some kind of cool water feature originally. Well, we came to figure out that water features have their challenges. One of them when we were considering a splash pad is just safety, having that space so close to a pretty well-traveled street there in 13th Street, and so for that reason, among others, sort of the focus ended up shifting away from water. But it just so happened that at the same time there was a group of art enthusiasts, community advocates who were recognizing that public art was something that could really benefit Marshalltown, and so it was just sort of a good time when the public art folks were looking to try and sort of organize and to come up with a project, and the 13th Street crew was looking for something cool, and so we got together and over the last couple of years, a lot's happened, and now we've got this really, really cool sculpture down there on 13th Street.
At the same time that we were struggling with what direction to go, Marshalltown Public Art Committee was being formed, and one of the guys, John Hermanson, who was on our committee, and Jane Bauer were also on that committee. And so we kind of brainstormed, you know, what could we do in conjunction with that committee to bring something that was neat to the area that might draw people and be interactive at the same time.
We have a fairly unique program in that we are not connected with the city. We had talked with the Marshall County Arts and Culture Alliance to see if within their mission, if they felt that, you know, adding a program specific to public art made sense, and they did. And so that's how MPAC became a division of the Marshall County Arts and Culture Alliance.
And the Marshalltown Public Art Committee was put together, a committee that was put together to provide leadership to acquire and maintain art in publicly accessible places in the city. And I think ECHO is the fruition of their work.
It's probably one of the neatest things about this committee was that things just kind of clicked. Everybody worked together really well for the things that we tried to do. Our goal was to finish the streetscape things down on 13th Street. And that was kind of what we were asked to do to begin with. And as far as ECHO goes, that kind of came about in a roundabout sort of way, as most projects do. They usually evolve out of one thought, and pretty soon we get somewhere else.
We just sort of described the project, what we were trying to accomplish down there in the district in that space, and so we got all these artists back, and they gave us sort of their rough proposals on what they would do. We identified 3 of them that were sort of our finalists, the ones that we liked the best, and engaged with them, actually hired them to put together a more specific proposal for the site. So 3 specific proposals were then submitted, and we took those out to the community. And that's where the process is kind of cool, because you solicit input, and it becomes, you know, there's some ownership. Everyone has at least an opportunity to give their thoughts on it.
We have a fairly long list of policies and procedures that are very detailed. We knew that for our first project, we were definitely going to need some help in figuring out what we were doing. And so that's when we had made contact with Tom Stancliffe up at UNI as a professor in the art department there, as a sculptor, as someone that's an artist working in this realm of public art, and as a consultant. He had helped other communities that were looking at how they could also start a public art program.
So, you know, we kind of bought into that whole idea, and you know, I personally think that art is the thing that softens space for us. It makes, if you want to call it ambience, or it's what makes things perfect or makes it like home. I just recently moved my mother-in-law into an assisted living apartment, and pretty bare, and you know, we moved her furniture in, but what really made it home for her was the pictures on the walls and the curtains on the windows, and it's what softened it up and made it homey. And I think art does that for us too, whether it's controversial and people don't like it, or they do like it, it brings up conversation, people have to go see it, and eventually it becomes the thing that people really like about the space. So I think ECHO is going to do that.
I just want to touch base a little bit on art and culture in general, is that it's important to a community because it provides the quality of life that we need. It's also an economic driver for people that come, say, to an art festival or come to see ECHO, the public piece of art. And it also is important for recruiting for corporate businesses in our community. So we need it, it's important, and we're really excited about having ECHO here. I hear someone's talking about it all the time, and I think that's the fun part, is it creates the buzz and that we need in our community.
All right, good afternoon and welcome to the 13th Street District. This area is buzzing with excitement. Can you feel the energy here? I mean, just the excitement of having ECHO, it's like the baby has arrived. And now we get to show it off and celebrate it. I'm Val Ruff, the Executive Director for the Marshall County Arts and Culture Alliance. And I've been in my role for about 8 months. And here's what I have to say. I just say that arts are happening in Marshalltown, Iowa. There's a lot of great things going on here. It's very exciting. This has become a community destination because of the 13th Street District renovation, and I think because of ECHO. There'll be people coming from all over to see ECHO. I know that it's kind of the buzz right now. It's like, have you seen it? Have you seen it? And so we're really excited about it. I think the important thing that we understand today is that arts and culture are the fabric of our communities. It has a lot to do with our economic impact. It has to do with quality of life and also recruitment for our corporate industries. So it's very important that we take pride in this piece that we have here today and are not afraid to share and invite people to come and see it here in our community. Just a quick history, the Marshalltown Public Art Committee is a division of the Marshall County Arts and Culture Alliance. And it was a few years ago, a small group of young professionals in the community got together and said, okay, we need to form and understand how important public art is to our community. And so I'd like to just take a quick minute to recognize everybody on the Public Art Committee. If you are past or present, please just raise your hand so we can see who's here from the Marshalltown Public Art Committee. So these are the people that made this happen. So I'd like to give them a round of applause. Thank you for all your time and effort in making this a reality. I also want to bring attention to Mary Giese. She was the past arts and cultural director, and she was a very inspirational in working with that group to bring this piece here. So thank you, Mary. So pretty exciting that we have our first, I know we have other pieces of public art in the community, and I think that's something to be very proud of, but I think this is new and innovative. It was a commission piece. The Arts and Culture, the Iowa Arts Council, there's a lot of people instrumental in bringing this to us, and so I think we should really make sure that we take the time to enjoy it and tell stories about it. So we want to welcome artist Bruce White. Where's Bruce hiding? There's Bruce. Bruce is here. His wife Gail is with him. Their daughter is with them here. They've been spending the week in our community, so we're very glad that you're here. Thank you for this amazing sculpture that's just going to enhance what we already have here. And we appreciate your incredible creativity. So, and you're going to get to talk about that here in a little bit. So thank you for being here, and thank you for those that were able to host them in our community so they could see all the great things and have the great food that you've had while you were here. So I want to give a quick shout out to the professional teams that were here to help Bruce and Steve Mueller in putting this together. Construct Incorporated, Dave's Crane was very instrumental. Central Iowa Machine, I know, I can't think of the gentleman's name, but he's been down here and he's been a trooper, grinding and cleaning and sanding and running all over. So thanks to him. Hawkins Electric, and also the city of Marshalltown. So thank you all for coming out today to support this effort and to celebrate the installation of our new shiny public art piece, ECHO. Now Matt will take it over from the Iowa Arts Council.
Great, thank you, Val. As Val said, my name is Matt Harris. I'm the administrator for the Iowa Arts Council, and we are a division of the Iowa Department of Cultural Affairs. We've had the privilege of overseeing the Iowa Great Places program since its inception, and last year, in 2014, designated Marshalltown an Iowa Great Place. And part of that project designation is this piece you see behind you. I remember very vividly leaving our site visit here in Marshalltown, and we were so impressed by the leadership in this community and the passion they had for this shared community vision. And anytime you talk about a community vision, you have to balance investing in the authentic qualities of your community with being bold and trying something new. And I think we see here today that this 13th Street corridor and this bold new piece of public art exactly balances that. And we're just very proud to be a partner in this project and in this larger community vision. Our mission at the Department of Cultural Affairs is to empower Iowans to build and sustain culturally vibrant communities and connect them to the people, places, and points of pride that define our state. I think it's safe to say today that we have added a new point of pride, not just to the community of Marshalltown, but to the entire state of Iowa, and we're just glad to have a chance to be a partner with Marshalltown and help bring this project to fruition. Congratulations to all of you who have helped make this project a reality, and thank you for the opportunity to be here today. Thank you. You go ahead and introduce your mayor of your fair community.
Good afternoon. I'm Jim Lawrence, mayor of the city of Marshalltown, and what a great day for a celebration. Val told me we have to talk quickly because rain's coming, right? I don't know about the rest of you, but I was by here Tuesday, Wednesday, and again yesterday, and there were already people here wondering, asking, what is this? And Sylvia and I stopped by late yesterday afternoon, and a gentleman came by and asked us, I won't give you the whole conversation, but he basically was asking, what is it? And I told him the simple answer is it's art. It's what a person sees in it, what each person sees in it. And I know that because that's what Val told me art is. But, you know, I think really that another person said it was an echo of the old 13th Street with neighborhoods and neighborhood stores and shops and people walking around. And I think that makes sense. It's kind of a rebirth of 13th Street, as many of you that are longtime residents remember as 13th Street. But to me, it also echoes the spirit of Marshalltown, of hard work and volunteerism. We all may have forgotten that this started 8 years ago. 8 years ago with one of the ideas from the Imagine 7 project that went on at that time. And that's 8 years of meetings, fundraising, planning, fundraising, delays, fundraising, all to get us to this day. The one that we've been looking forward to, the dedication of the centerpiece of 13th Street. So I want to congratulate and thank those people that were involved. First, John Hermanson and Jane Bauer and their committee, who really started this effort with the renovation of the Franklin Field ticket booth project, which I think, Jane, didn't you raise almost $150,000 for that project alone? So a tremendous start to the rebirth of 13th Street. Pardon me. Obviously, the Iowa Arts Council and Department of Cultural Affairs, which designated this project as one of Iowa's great places, and also was kind enough to give us money to help out with the project, which we appreciate. The Marshalltown Public Art Committee. We can't forget one of the big benefactors for this community, and that's the Martha Ellen Ty Foundation for the grant made to help see this project through. And also they allowed Heidi Pearson free rein to spend as much time as necessary on this project. So we thank Marshall Ty Foundation for that as well. To the MEDIC organization, which is our local economic development group, that awarded a grant to assist with new lighting and the trees, and was very much involved in fundraising for the project. The city of Marshalltown and its employees who were involved in just about every part of the project, including I think up until Tuesday or Wednesday when they finished repainting the traffic signals at 13th Street, so that painting them black, so that we had the continuation of the theme of 13th Street. And we had a number of volunteers who just spent countless hours working down here. I want to pay special thanks to Randy Whitmore, the city administrator, and Tom Dingerly from MEDIC, who in the first or second year of the project came down here in the evenings during the very hot months of summer and watered the lawn that we're on, and watered each of the trees so that we didn't have any summer burnout. I also want to thank all those people that I've missed, because I know I've missed some, and if I did, I apologize. Please just call my office and leave a voicemail complaining about it. And finally, last but certainly not least, I want to congratulate and give thanks to the citizens of Marshalltown who provided support in the terms of money or just cheering from the sidelines, giving encouragement to those that were actively involved in this. So to all of you, thank you and congratulations.
Hello everyone, my name is Heidi Pearson. I am the program manager for the Marshalltown Ty Foundation. I'm also a member of the Marshalltown Public Art Committee. I am the past chair. Our current chair is John Hermison back there in the booth. So first want to say thank you all. This is a great turnout, and to say that I'm here to share a little bit about the Echo story. So what is it? How did we get here? What was all involved in bringing this fantastic piece down to 13th Street? Before I do that, I want to let you know that we had a lot of, Jim mentioned fundraising. Something that's really unique about the Marshalltown Public Art Committee, for those of you that may not know much about public art committees or commissions, in most communities, they're affiliated maybe in some way with a city or city department. When we began this whole idea of public art and a public art committee here in Marshalltown, we worked very closely with a lot of very good friends at the city and trying to figure out how we could make this a reality in Marshalltown. And for those of us that have lived here and done any work of any kind in this community, we know that we do it the Marshalltown way. So if another community does it their way, that's fine, but we'll figure out how to make it work here. And so we're very proud to say that we are a division of the Marshall County Arts and Cultural Alliance. We have an all-volunteer committee. We meet once a month, every month, and every now and then in between that. So this has been a project where all of the funds were raised through grant dollars. So our funding partners include Iowa Great Places, the 13th Street District Committee, the Marshalltown Convention and Visitors Bureau, the Marshalltown Ty Foundation, and the Community Foundation of Marshall County. So thank you to all the funding partners for making this project a reality. So a description of this project. This really began, as has been mentioned already in some of the comments today, with the start of the 13th Street District Committee and all of the volunteers that have worked so long and getting this place to the way it looks today, which is so fantastic. I think it's important that we remember what it used to look like. I know recently I saw some pictures of what this district looked like not that long ago, and it's an amazing transformation. And so we might be kind of used to that it looks so great down here now, but let's remember that that this has been a great start, and I know they've got some exciting plans to continue that. While they were considering what to do in this new green space here, you might hear most of us refer to it as the plaza area. There was some conversation happening with that committee of what could they do? What else could they bring to this district? And while that conversation was happening on 13th Street, another group of us here in town were having that conversation about public art. And John Hermanson had asked me to lunch and had the idea of, maybe we should join forces and maybe there would be a benefit for the first public art project to be on 13th Street. So these two committees had several conversations and meetings, and everybody agreed this would be great to take on this new adventure down on 13th Street together. And so we've really done that. I really want to say a very personal thank you to Tom Stancliffe, who is here with us today. If you could please stand, and please give Tom a round of applause. Tom is an artist, a sculptor. He is a professor of art at the University of Northern Iowa. He is also a public art consultant of sorts. And so very soon after we had decided that this was a project we needed to take on and we're doing a little bit different in our community, we decided we should ask for help. And so that help came in the form of Tom working with us as a consultant, making several trips to Marshalltown, answering several phone calls, emails. And so we really thank you and appreciate all that you've done to help us get where we are today. So thank you. Thank you. We had, with Tom's help, had put together a request for qualifications. And so what that means is we had sent out to 15 artists kind of what we were thinking we wanted here in the district. What should the art piece maybe do for this space? We had a great response. All 15 had turned in some interest, which was great. That means we had 15 artists nationally learning about Marshalltown, learning about this district. From there, a selection jury was established with members from both 13th Street and the Public Art Committee. They had taken those 15 submissions or qualifications of artists that had come in and narrowed that down to 3. From there, those 3 artists were asked to develop concepts specifically here for 13th Street, for this plaza area. While that happened, that selection jury again was formed, and they took those 3 concepts out into the community, asked for some input. We had very close to over 400 individual comments, which was fantastic, all really very positive. I think I've told this story several times before, but the best comment that we read out of those comment boxes, and there were several of them that essentially said the same: why are we choosing just one? Why can't we have all 3 here? So for us in a new adventure and trying to bring public art to Marshalltown, that was a great thing to be able to read. And so from there, that selection jury had made that final decision from the 3 to select Bruce White and his concept of Echo for 13th Street. So once that was selected, we began the hard work of raising the funds, learned about the opportunity through the Iowa Great Places program. We're notified of that funding and that designation, and that is how Echo has become a reality here today for all of us in Marshalltown. So just want to say, again, thanks to everybody for coming out today. That's sort of the story of Echo. And what I'd like to do now is ask Maureen Lyons to come and join me. We have here a copy of a book about Bruce's work, Engineering Expression. These are hard to come by. They're out of print, and so Bruce was kind enough to give us a copy of this early on in our process working with him. And so the Marshalltown Public Art Committee would like to donate this book to the Marshalltown Public Library to have in the collection, so that it's not just sitting on someone's desk in an office. This was my desk, my office for several months when I realized that was ridiculous, and so we had decided that we needed to get it into the library. So we want to make this donation to the public library for anybody to have the chance to check this out and maybe read up a little bit more on Bruce and some of the work that he has both here in Iowa and then nationally. So thank you for that.
Thank you.
I would next like to ask Shannon to come on up. She is the vice chair for the Marshalltown Public Art Committee this year.
Thank you, Heidi. It is my pleasure to get to introduce and give a little bit of background on Bruce White, and then following that he'll come up and have a few remarks. But Bruce White is a large-scale sculptor who works primarily with permanent materials like stainless steel and aluminum. White was born in New York and obtained a bachelor's degree at the University of Maryland. He then went on to obtain both his master's and doctoral degrees at Columbia University in New York City. White has taught at various public schools and universities, such as Northern Illinois University. Bruce White has sculptures in both private and public collections, as well as large-scale public works all over the world. Bruce, would you like to come up and say a few words? And he said, hey, what about my dress? I'm a working man.
Yeah, I put on the best outfit I have. That's why I do sculpture. But I'd like to recognize Tom, and you know, I paid you for getting. And but anyway, Tom was one of my students for many years. It took me a long time to get out of there. Anyway, we had a great time here. But when I was teaching at NIU, but I also want to say something that. When I came here, I taught at Queens College and a few other New York universities, and I taught sculpture, but I never had students. Like, you know, I was a very proud New Yorker. That's changed. I had the best students, and the students I had in this part of the country are doing so well, I have to fight hard to keep up with them. And Tom, as you know, has a very good reputation as a sculptor. Had a hard time getting through school, but other than that, he was a very good student. And so anyway, I just want to say that, you know, the Midwest, you know, being a conceited Yankee at one time, that's all changed. And I'm not saying this just to be nice. And Tom can tell you, too, the number of people, if you ever want to hear of the number of people that came out of his group that are teachers, professors, and sculptors now. And there's more sculpture probably from the Midwest of Midwestern students. I had never had students like that. I hate to admit it, but I did. I've really just changed completely about the Midwest, because, you know, when I was leaving to come out here, my aunt said to me, "Why are you going out there? There's nothing there." And, you know, it's like the old cartoon in the New Yorker, if you've seen that. You know, they have the just the New York, and then you have just desert, and then you have, I guess, what was it, the next city? No, there was one city in between. I've seen that. It's a great cartoon. But anyway, and they thought there was nothing out here. And it was just the opposite. It's more happening here in sculpture than in New York. New York is a very closed kind of place, you know, if you make contacts to get anywhere. So anyway, if you don't like this, you see Tom. But we had one comment yesterday that somebody came by and they said, "So that's where our money's going," and he didn't care for it at all. But anyway, we had also numerous compliments, and I really thank you for that. This particular piece was supposed to go to a company in Chicago, and they have the model and everything, and so what happened was the company went out of business, but they kept the maquette. I can't get it back. So at any rate, and it was always one of my favorites, and I was determined to get it in the right place, and it all worked out perfectly. So I'm very thrilled about that. As for my work, I don't draw very often. I usually try to think in dimension. And years ago, one of my graduate students, Dave Airy, you know, started talking to me about, you know, the new science, and now the ability to photograph things that you can't see. You know, and it became fascinating. And so I was looking at sound waves one time, and the sound waves were so fascinating, and they'd go out like that, and the ring that they made was beautiful and just keep expanding. And so that really, I just thought, my God, that's amazing, you know, and all the other things that were like that, you know, I just really fell in love with the new science and the images. As you know, now with supercomputers, they can see things we never could see before. So when people talk about it being unrealistic, no, it's right from realism. And so that's essentially what this was about. And, you know, in the center, you've got that wiggle stuff. Now I translated that obviously into something else because I couldn't draw what it really did. And then it went up like this, and it would just keep expanding in space. So that was kind of the thing. I just thought it was so beautiful. I wanted to make something that had that feeling to it. Not trying to make the image, but the feeling of that. And so that's how this all came about. Now, one more thing I should tell you. it's going to be, and since this is happening in space, so you didn't see a base on it. So I didn't put a base on it, but we're going to put concrete in there, so this piece looks like it's just balanced on it, and you could push it over almost. So I wanted that feeling of it not being connected, really. Although it's also kind of interesting when you think of it in balance. So yeah, I've got very involved with this stuff, and a lot of my sculpture, it springs from that. I don't try to copy it because I'm incapable of beating science. I know that. I'm not going to even attempt to beat science, but it does give me so many ideas. And my ideas are not usually from drawings. I usually manipulate material because if it's going to be dimensional, I want all the sides to work. So therefore, I don't do a flat drawing and then copy it. Any questions, anybody? Uh-oh. Okay. Oh, I thought you were going to. No.
Yeah, okay. Yep.
Hi, I'm Jackie. I'm Jackie Mason, and Doug and I are co-chairs for 13th Street District Committee. And Bruce, your comments are interesting. My daughter interned in New York a few years ago, and people couldn't get over how nice she was and kept saying to her, well, we've got all these things in the city. What do you have in Iowa? And she's like, we have good people in Iowa. And I thought, way to go, girl. And that brings me to my remarks have to do with, I guess, kind of bragging on our community, first of all. Our mayor kind of touched on that, but I think that most communities come together very well when there's a crisis of some kind, Parkersburg's tornado or Katrina's hurricane. But Marshalltown comes together when there's a project to be done, when there's work to be done, and we are unlike any community I've ever lived in that we work together. We find resources under a rock somewhere sometimes, but somehow we get things done. And I think the 13th Street District Committee is a good example of that. When people were asked to be on that committee, they all said yes without hesitation. They all ended up serving 3 years instead of 1 when they were asked. When they came together, one of the things that we had to do is decide what did we want this space to look like, and we were bound and determined there was going to be a water feature in this plaza. It was going to be stone and there was going to be water. Then when we found out that was going to cost an arm and a leg, and there were all kinds of regulations with public water that we couldn't meet, we thought, okay, here's a good example. We're flexible. Let's go a different route. And we thought art. And we also realized that none of us were very artistic, so we needed help. And at the same time, like Heidi said, MPAC was being born, and as another good example of Marshalltonians working together. Somehow they made things happen, and we were able to find resources through the city, through community groups, through all the fundraising that's been done. I want to really thank MPAC for taking a lead on this, because we were okay with doing water feature, but we had no idea how to go about getting public art here. So again, they took the bull by the horns and went way far and above beyond what they were asked to do. So I really want to commend that whole committee. And then I wanted to also kind of brag on the Iowa Arts Council and Iowa Great Places, because they have the vision that while Marshalltown has strong willpower and good working hands, we don't always have deep pockets. And they have the vision that they are willing to invest in places in this state, and it makes not only Marshalltown a better place, but the whole state a better place. So I think we have an awful lot of people who did a lot of work here to make all of this look much better. We have plans for the future, and I just want to say thank you to everybody. And I'll let Doug make a few comments.
When Jackie and I were trying to figure out what kind of little presentation we were going to do, Jackie said, well, maybe she would do the little of the background, and I would, I guess, talk a little bit about the future, because we certainly aren't done here in repurposing and recreating this district. If I can get a plug in just quickly, the future is June 13th, where we're hosting a dance in the district right down here. It's our inaugural one ever for this district, so I want to remind everybody here and invite everybody, starting at I think about 6 o'clock, food at 7. Okay, that out of the way. I now have to kind of direct my comments to the city, to Randy, Justin, Bruce, and I know there are other fellas and gals that were part of it. But I can tell you that for the last 4 years, without their cooperation as we've had it, we wouldn't be here today. We wouldn't even be close. It's such an advantage to be able to call or email any of those men I mentioned and ask them a question, like Jackie alluded to when we were considering a water feature here. I just recently spoke to Randy about the possibility of painting the street lights up at the corner of 13th and Main. And I just couldn't expect better cooperation, and those guys deserve a real round of applause. They really do. The next round of applause really goes back about 3 years, and it should be directed at Chamber of Commerce, Economic Development Committee, MEDIC, and again, the city, because those three organizations from different vantage points really saw the opportunity that exists and presents itself here, and without their collaboration and cooperation, again, we wouldn't be here. Did I see Ken Anderson here? Guess I did, maybe somebody else. Anyway, it was Ken, Tom, and the folks at the city. So thank you to any of those folks. I read today that Abraham Lincoln, and many of you may know this, said, the best thing about the future is that it comes one day at a time. It's been about 1,030 days since this effort began. That's not very darn many days to have done what you see kind of transformed here. Certainly the money, all the personal resources have been mentioned, but it just proof to all of us, and most Marshalltonians know that it can happen, and it's happened kind of right here in 3 years. Now, the future. Not used to being shackled here. When you look around here, you see so many assets that could be and will be leveraged to create further growth. I would challenge you to find any district practically in Iowa that can boast about a vet's home at the north end, tennis courts, a beautiful park with a little meandering creek, a full-size baseball diamond, a jogging and running track, a football field, an elementary school, and a middle school, all within walking distance of this location right here. It is perfect for what we're going to continue to grow and invest in this district. It's just there's too much here that can be leveraged for much greater growth and investment right here on 13th Street. Now, that's what money can buy. But in the immediate future, until that money and that investment comes along, there are other things we have planned for the area. A neighborhood association to build a greater sense of community, a greater sense of community pride, a greater feeling of safety. Summer activities for children in the district, in the area here. We visited with the library. We think that there are things to do during the summer days down here for children. Adults as well. Learning activities, physical fitness activities. I just challenge you to look around and find a place that has as many opportunities as this one right here. I think lastly, I would mention that, many of you know that Marshalltown, the city, the chamber has done a housing study. And we found that Marshalltown is in great need of housing. Wouldn't you like to have a full park in your backyard? Look off a deck and see a park and a tennis court and a baseball diamond? I mean, right here at this location is a heck of an opportunity for further development, whether it be housing, food store, retail, and that's what we do intend to get accomplished as we go forward. I think that's the conclusion of my remarks.
don't think we have to say much. I think it's pretty much been said. What I'll say is I just think it's kind of fun to see a pipe dream become reality, isn't it? At this point, all that's left to be done is to formally, on behalf of the Marshalltown Public Art Committee as a division of the Marshall County Arts and Culture Alliance, formally gift to the city of Marshalltown, Echo. You good? City Administrator Randy, let me know. Is there a wrap up? Oh yeah, I invite the Marshalltown Chamber ambassadors up for the ribbon cutting.
And the Impact Committee too.
And along with the Impact Committee. And I'm John Hermanson. I'm the current chair of the Marshalltown Public Art Committee.
All right, 1, 2, 3. Keep going.
We'd all like you to go across the street here in what they call the Owl Building. The artists will be there, but we have some champagne and cookies just for a little time of mingling. If you so want to stay, you're welcome to do that. Thank you.
I think what it does is it creates a sense of place, and I think the public art piece also, it's created a destination. So a destination for the residents of Marshalltown, for people in Marshall County, even beyond that, out into the state of Iowa, and hopefully in the future people will see it as a destination to come and visit Echo and check it out and make their own observation of what they think it is.
The value is, as we see it, and certainly now others here in Marshalltown that they've shared that they see is, you know, it's sort of this interesting addition to a community. In some cases, you hear people refer to it as the other. So when you think of a space in your community, certainly things that are essential are good streets, sidewalks, lighting. All of those things are things that you absolutely have to have, but then there's the other. What makes a place unique or special? And so that's where we really see public art playing a huge role in economic development, but also in community pride. And that's something that the Marshalltown Public Art Committee feels very strongly in, and we really hope that other people see Echo, our first project, as something that the community can be proud of.